In 1855, a group of South Carolinians joined together in an effort to collect, preserve, and publish the history of their state. Today, the Society's collection is housed in the historic fireproof building and includes priceless manuscripts, maps, photographs, and books.
The South Carolina Historical Society is truly one of our nation's treasures. In our collections are materials from the founding of the colony back in the 1670s, founding fathers and mothers of our country, the Pinckneys, the Rutledges, and so forth. Records throughout the 19th century and into the 20th and 21st centuries. But the collection is so rich and so extensive, folks, that's one of the problems that we now have. We have far more materials than we can adequately house in the wonderful fireproof building. When we started out in 1855, we actually had a connection with the College of Charleston, which is an interesting historical tidbit. And in fact, our collections survived pretty much during the Civil War because they were stored not in our headquarters, but at the college. So there's a certain historical touch to this move that we're making. One of the things that has happened with the Historical Society from its over the last 150 some odd years is it is no longer just the story of Charleston and the Low Country. It's the story of South Carolina. It's the yeoman farmer from Spartanburg. It's the ex-slave from Orangeburg. It's the industrialist from Greenville. It's all of South Carolina history. And again, all part of that beautiful mosaic. If we're going to remain the primary resource for the study of South Carolina, and I would even say Southern history, we need to be in larger quarters. And that's why this move is so important. We will have our collections, but they will be more readily available to students, researchers, genealogists. Anyone who wants to study South Carolina and the American South will be able to do it far more easily, and our staff will be able to help them better in the new quarters.
The South Carolina Historical Society is fortunate to be the steward of two very special treasures: an outstanding archival collection and a remarkable historic building. But we have to remember that Mills was working in the early 19th century and that the building he designed is only about 9,000 square feet. We know much more about the storage of archival materials now than we did then. Humidity and temperature, and fluctuations of either of those elements have a profound effect on the life of documents and visual materials. These environmental issues, as well as the lack of storage space, have been the primary concern of the Society's staff for nearly a decade. Thankfully, an engaged board of managers saw the need to take action.
When I became president of the Society, and in fact, for some years before that, it was apparent that the collection, our valuable collection of manuscripts and other documents, was outgrowing the building here at the fireproof building. The space became quite inadequate, and in each passing year, it was more difficult to properly care for our valuable collection. So one of the projects that I undertook was to try to find adequate space for the collection. We investigated a number of options, from building a new building to buying an old building and converting it, to renting space in a place like the Library Society to help house our collection. So ultimately, we began to gradually and slowly develop a relationship with the College of Charleston, and particularly the staff of the library at the College of Charleston. So we slowly began to investigate the possibility of maybe putting some of our collection in the library at the College of Charleston. Of course, one of the issues involved in that is that our collection is our collection. When the consideration of moving some of the collection to the College of Charleston Library became a more serious conversation, the number one object from the standpoint of the South Carolina Historical Society is that we had to be an independent organization at all times and in connection with the care of our collection. So what we have done now is worked out an arrangement with the College of Charleston by which the South Carolina Historical Society will be located at the College of Charleston Library, and it will have its own separate space, its own separate reading room, its own separate storage space. And one of the most wonderful things about this arrangement is it maintains our independent identity as our society, but at the same time it makes the collection much more accessible to many more people, which is the goal of our society, to make the history of South Carolina, the valuable and interesting history of South Carolina, accessible to everyone.
The majority of the South Carolina Historical Society collection and the Society's archivists will be relocated to a special area at Addlestone Library. However, the fireproof building will remain the headquarters of the Society. Programs, publications, archival processing, membership, development, and administration will continue to work from this historic building.
For a number of years, historians and historical institutions all over have been expanding not only how much they collect, but also whose stories. And so when we talk about the expansion of square footage, we also mean more people coming in and more stories being told. And so I am delighted that the plans are now underway, and we're really looking to what is going to be a phenomenal new direction for this incredible society. We are on the cutting edge, if you will, of what history really means to the average citizen. No longer are these wonderful, valuable documents there just for scholars and researchers, as important as those people are. But we're in a time now where public history is really what is exciting the average person, be they young or old. They want to know about the past so that they can connect it to their present and even their future. We're expanding the formats for how we present history. We're expanding those who will see this as having a real benefit to them as they decide how they want to access history. And we're just expanding the kinds of stories and the people whose stories will now be available. As a true lover of history, not only in a scholarly vein, but just as a public citizen, I am excited about the possibilities that are now being created to share South Carolina's history literally with the world.
This new plan benefits the Society, the College of Charleston, and the state of South Carolina by making the collections and the building of the Society more accessible. It is the responsibility of historical organizations to take the lead in preserving, promoting, and interpreting the past.